Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Доброго вечора, шановні пані і панове. A very warm welcome to this 2022 American Chamber of Commerce in Ukraine annual Members Appreciation Reception. And this evening, it is about appreciation. The American Chamber of Commerce in Ukraine is, in 2022, celebrating 30 years of operations in Ukraine, and we are delighted to have you here at the beginning of this year to really appreciate all the work that you're doing in Ukraine, for being here in Ukraine for so many years, for being here in Ukraine today, for believing in Ukraine, for investing in creating jobs, paying taxes, and we are very grateful to you for that today. I'm delighted to see so many faces. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Prime Minister Shmyhal, welcome. And we are delighted for this B2G, this business to government dialogue that we've been having for so many years with you, and continue that. For Irina Venediktova, the General Prosecutor, absolutely delighted. We had a separate meeting last week, and very tangible cases that we've brought together for the members. 34 cases and 50%, 17 have already been settled in terms of people, the members finding justice, finding fairness and the opportunity to continue operating in Ukraine. Kyrylo Shevchenko, the head of the National Bank of Ukraine. And I think today we'll have a great opportunity to hear from the leaders about what we are expecting, what to look forward to. Our dear friend Megan Bolden, the head of the economic session, representing the Embassy of the United States here in Kyiv, and Olena Kosharny, the CEO and co-founder of Horizon Capital. Olena, chairman of our board, but also Olena, a great symbol of belief and trust and faith in Ukraine, already managing a fund that's managing over $1.1 billion of assets here in Ukraine, and continuing to do so. And it's great to hear Olena has to run after this meeting because she has a dinner with 10 investors that actually flew into Ukraine today to look investing. And I think that is the message that we want to deliver today. Firstly, it's about the appreciation of you, the members that are operating, that are working in Ukraine, that are continuing and have been doing for so long. I think the unity of all coming together, especially at these truly unprecedented, extraordinary times, remarkable times. And I think we'll have an opportunity to hear more, both in the hall and later on during the reception, about some of the sentiment and some of the how companies are dealing with it. But the fact that we are here today, I think, is also sends a signal, a message across, not only across Ukraine, but across the world, that Ukraine is open for business and the members are here. It is about you, and I think I would like to thank this evening this year we're celebrating the 30th anniversary, and our platinum sponsors tonight is PepsiCo. So a very great big thank you to PepsiCo, to Horizon Capital again, and all to our partners, and to Carlsberg, to Metro, to Dila, for making sure that everyone in this room is tested, not only vaccinated, but also tested, and I think that's so important. And I think there are so many people in this room that I see that I would like to thank. People that are based here, people that have just flown in. Where's Neville? Neville, I saw him a minute ago. Neville from Q Terminals, who has just flown in, and they've just announced a, where is Neville? He's probably at the bar, so I'll get him later. But I think he's flown in, and it is a message that they've just invested over $100 million in a port in Olvia, again, showing that the business continues. I think today we'll hear from the government of Ukraine, and from the government of the United States about the situation, what the messages are to you in terms of how to have business continuity, how to have business contingency. But I think from our side, the fact, we are here, we are optimistic. Literally an hour ago, I met with the head of the security service, Ivan Bakanov, and he said there are two scenarios. There's one scenario, he said, one scenario, що все буде добре, so everything is going to be good. And the other scenario, що все буде дуже добре. So everything is going to be very good. So I think that optimism, so his colleagues will be here this evening. I think there'll be an opportunity to hear and chat with them also. But I think it is the optimism we are seeing, we are hearing, we are feeling, but also keeping a sense of reality of the risks, and really understanding how best to communicate that back to head offices. Because one of the biggest challenges we see is how to communicate that back to head offices. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a hybrid event. So, again, a very warm welcome to everybody who is joining us online. We are delighted that you can join us online, and we are looking forward to future dates when we can have our events back, when we can have 400, 500, 600 people in this room, and I think that is hopefully going to be sooner than later, and we are very much looking forward to that. As I say again, this year is our 30th anniversary. We have a lineup of events which we're planning, and I very much hope that our 30th anniversary gala celebration on June the 2nd, we will be able to have something similar to like the 1,000+ people we had during our 25th anniversary, where we could all be together in person. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, today is an appreciation for you, for the members. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the support of the business community. Thank you for the support of Ukraine. And ladies and gentlemen, для мене надзвичайно велика честь.
For me, it is a great honor to give the floor to the Prime Minister of Ukraine, Denis Shmyhal. Dear ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues, friends, dear Andy, our esteemed colleagues who find themselves on this stage. Really, I feel very warm
and heartfelt in the circle of our like-minded people. And this kind of appreciation is also a kind of respect and gratefulness. And I would like to thank everyone who creates new jobs, who pay the taxes, who makes new business, brings here new technologies, new innovations to this country, and doesn't is not afraid of any kind of challenges which all of us we encounter today. Here we have the reps of business and the MPs of Ukraine, and of course the civil society and the ACC and the and our commerce chamber. I would like to remember what our Andy Gunder mentioned. I would say that everything's going to be very well. And our head of our security service, he has more information, but I'm certain that everything's going to be okay, very good, very well, because we have very good indices. Last year, I'm going to reveal a little secret and tell you how we actually passed the previous years, because you did a lot for that by your businesses, with your own hand, to fill our budget. What are the prospects of this country? And of course, we're going to talk about the challenges and the threats. We have to talk about those because they do exist, but we shouldn't be afraid of those. We have to perceive them as an objective reality, and you can understand how we have to move forward despite any kind of challenges and threats. Or again, thanks to the support of our partners. And speaking about pandemic, number one, this is something which we have to live through. In 2020, we actually lost a part of our GDP. We had a negative economic growth. Next year, 2021, we had kind of a renovation of the economy, and now we are still calculating, but I'm certain that we are going to have 3% positive, plus 3%. This is, we are talking about GDP over $195 million, and this is really a record-breaking figure. We actually more 100% of our goal in the budget. If you took, for example, GDP, what we had to do redistribute for the budget from it actually goes down from 25 to 24, 23, and it's still going down to maybe 20%, which is going to be redistributed by the state through the state budget. That means that the total burden or load is decreasing. Again, we are talking about the increase or the well-being of our population, thanks to the efforts of the business. Despite the very difficult times we are living through in the pandemic, the salary in December was about $600. The annual is $550. This is a good indicator for Ukraine. Of course, we would like to have higher salaries like the world over, and actually we are working, our government is working to make people live a better life, and the president of Ukraine is doing the same. Actually, we can see the improvement in all these sectors. We should talk about the record-breaking crops harvest and plus 15% in the agrarian sector. We can see believable, let's say, increase in the IT sector. The surplus of $5 billion in 2020, and last year to 7% increase. So in this service in Ukraine becomes one of the leading players in the European map. The construction sector actually showed more than 6% growth, and we are going to provide our support to this sector through the mortgage, through the infrastructure projects, a big number of those, because the building construction of the roads and the construction improvement of our infrastructure takes place not like associated not only with economic multiplexer, but the results of the business, which brings here different investments. Of course, we have the record-breaking figures for the export, $68 billion, and it's a bit less than 40% growth, a powerful increase. And if you're talking about the foreign economic trade, it decreased down to $3 billion. This is one of the lowest indicators. So we are becoming very balanced economy from the point of view of the export and import. Again, we achieve that owing to your efforts. And when that means that we manufacture more and more of our own produce. Of course, there was some kind of increase of the price for the ore and other raw materials produced in Ukraine, but the added value share increases, which is also important. Why we are talking about all those figures? Because it's very important to see how the Ukraine makes its progress, how we move forward over the last 8 years, despite the aggression on the part of the Russian Federation, despite some of our territory is temporarily occupied, and despite the kind of the truth, we every day we have different shooting. We have almost every day our wounded and killed boys and girls. But today, speaking, coming back to the economy, we reached the parameters which big Ukraine had. I mean, the whole of Ukraine, including the occupied territories previously. We have definitely progress in the reforms in economics. Of course, the better seen by our partners. But over the last few years, I'm certain when I'm talking about that, we did a lot in order to move more actively in all the reforms, from the reform of justice in Ukraine all the way up to anti-corruption reform corporatization, and decreasing the influence of the state in the economy. And we shouldn't forget about very painful reform, very important for Ukraine. I'm talking about the land reform in this country. Also, we're going to introduce again very painful social reforms in the markets of electric power and natural gas. We are living through a very difficult time today, energy crisis, etc., etc. But we are moving ahead towards decreasing the impact on the state, on the business, and again, speaking about the big privatization, it's unblocked. We have record-breaking figures, more than quite a few billions. Of course, our target was higher, 12 billion, but we failed to do that because for some objective reasons, and maybe a lack of the confidence or trust on the part of investments to invest into the mining industry. Maybe we'll do it this year. We are going to demonstrate our abilities, and we are going to do something about that. Of course, this kind of escalation, in particular information in escalation, what we had over the last 3 months, it affects the market investments, the currency rate. And we have here the chairman of the National Bank of Ukraine. He is going to comment on that. But it's very important to understand that Ukraine has been living in the context or on the conditions of aggression on the part of the Russian Federation for 8 years now. And this escalation because of the military aggression has not disappeared. And they actually concentrated different figures. We can see 127 to 130,000, including different maneuvers. And this is a real threat from the point of view of the peaceful country and the civilized world. And we've been living under such a threat for 8 years now. We still continue to give birth to our children. We continue to develop. We live under conditions of the hybrid threats, not just threats, but organized aggression in the form of cyber attacks. And 70 state websites were hit by January this year. All of us, we use, by the way, internet, and we can see, and many of us actually know how to tell the fake news from the real news, but we have to be very much coordinated in order to move ahead. But we are becoming stronger in this environment. It's not impossible, I don't mean to say that, but we actually learn how to live with those things today. And I'm certain that the support on the part of our partners today, from the point of view of decreasing the level of escalation or threats, is very important today. And you can see unprecedented attention to Ukraine today at different levels, all the levels: United States, Europe, civilized world. In Ukraine we have today 3 prime ministers from different countries, a big group of the European delegates, and we have high visitors every year. The Minister of Infrastructure yesterday from Poland. We are involved in different negotiations dedicated not only to the issues of let's say aggression and escalation, but also we're talking about our joint infrastructure project, investments, further development. All those things are included in our agenda. We do not forget about those, and we are going to implement all those things. Speaking about these threats, the best response to that perhaps would be that during the presence of our partners, I mentioned already, journalists, ministers, prime ministers, there is no fire and no shooting. We do not have over the last few days neither the wounded persons nor the killed ones, and believe that this support of our partners creates some kind of political shield for Ukraine. But in addition to that, our partners actually support us with the armaments, the weapons, and this actually makes somebody to think whether it's worthwhile to be involved in some kind of military aggression against Ukraine. Our army is as powerful as never had been the case before, and I can tell you that our Ukrainian army is one of the largest in Europe. We are very powerful today. We're well equipped. And once again, I would like to emphasize that, because if you're talking about the maneuvers in the Russian Federation near the borders of Ukraine, so their main target is to know how to attack. Our major task is to protect Europe, because we are kind of the first line of defense of European continent, and I'm certain that we are going to cope with this task. And today, our president actually signed the presidential order in the Parliament of Ukraine that this year we are going to gradually to switch our army to the professional army. We are going to organize the special training courses for the males, and we are going to have the professional army, and the number of the people who will be would be taught how to professionally actually defend our country would be increased. Of course, we are going to embark upon the professional road of the building of our army, and our army certainly will be will be ready to protect not only Ukraine but our partners. And this actually gives me a lot of confidence, and I would like to share this confidence of mine with you as well. Speaking about some of our prospects, it's 3 more minutes, and I'm going to finish to give a chance to my colleagues to speak here. Definitely, we are working hard today with our partners in financial matters in order to support our economic system, and to give a chance to our national bank to cope with the burden and the pressure on the market of the, let's say, the borrowed securities. So over the last 3 years, we had a very, very tense, big tension if you're talking about the currency outflow from Ukraine. This is statistics of the National Bank, which is very impressive. And I do appreciate those investors who were bold enough and they were courageous enough not to be scared, and continue to their work and continue to have our confidence in Ukraine, in our army and our partners, owing to who we can actually are able to feel stability in our country. So they allocated 1.2 billion euro of the financial macro support. Canada 120 million invested, and the United States are working hard together with our Minister of Finance, speaking about very ponderable financial support to be given to Ukraine. And to be very honest with you, this financial support on the part of our partners is very promising today, and I may assure you that with such support of our partners, we are going to make another breakthrough this year and actually establish a new record-breaking figures. We are going to achieve those, because today, after we went through different tensions and pressure associated with the pandemic and aggression, we have to be optimists, and we have very big and very well-grounded and hopes that we will be able to make very decisive steps together with our partners. In this month and next month, we are going to revisit our plans for the IMF, with the World Bank. We are talking about very good credit portfolio, a loan portfolio. We are certainly looking into coming through these heating seasons, and the limitation restriction of the gas market actually fall upon this period. And this is not only the problem of Ukraine. This is the biggest, perhaps, the natural gas crisis over the whole period of using the gas as one of the major, let's say, energy resource over the last 100 years, perhaps. Europe is being diversified today. We, together with our partners, we are going to do the same. We are looking for some other, let's say, sources of energy in Ukraine. We are going to go through this heating season in Ukraine with flying colors. I believe, we are talking about increasing our capacities, and speaking about the reserves of natural gas, they are sufficient. Once again, I would like to say that we are going to have a very confident course, and all our enterprise can work confidently and calmly. We are going to start the pumping in into our let's say underground storages. And in April this year, we're going to start the pumping in the natural gas reserves for the next season. Speaking about European integration, I would like to say that we are very actively working with Europe, and today at all different meetings, this is one of our top priority. To join the European Energy Network. Also, last year we signed the open airspace. As you know, we are going to finish this year all the technical formalities, and we are prepared to join the European Energy Electric Power Network, or grid, excuse me. Also, we have the customs visa-free regime, as we call it. We are talking about the assessment of different samples of the let's say manufacturing samples, industrial samples. We are working with the European Commission for Ukraine to become the joint European space. For the Ukrainians, this is going to be free. This is a number of different things which we are going to take care of and implement this year and the beginning next year. In conclusion, I would like to say, take into consideration what I've mentioned and what I haven't mentioned yet. We are going to continue our work in the better investment climate, and we all communicate with ECC and Ukrinvest are very good partners, and everything what we do in order to mitigate the investment climate, improve it, we are going to do everything for the business to have a better conditions for their work. So please continue investments. We are going to protect those together with our partners and with our army against any let's say threats against anybody. Again, together with our partners, we're going to ensure that the economic situation is going to be stable, and we have no doubt about that. I believe that the chairman of our National Bank of Ukraine is going to add to my optimism, maybe with his reserved optimism. But anyway, he would add to that. Thank you very much for your attention. Should you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those. But once again, I would like to wish all of you in this financial economic year very good income, profits, wonderful, excellent investments, good breakthroughs, new achievements, attainments. Thank you very much.
Дякую вам дуже.
Дуже дякую, пане прем'єр-міністр.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. On behalf of the companies, we appreciate this dialogue, because business-to-government dialogue is the place, the site that we have, and the opportunity for us to talk to you, to your ministers, deputy ministers, and we are very grateful. B2G is one of the main methods that we apply, both with the government of Ukraine and the government of the USA.
to a great friend, someone we work every day in touch with, working with the US Embassy, Megan Bolden, the head of the economic section, US Embassy. Megan Bolden, please.
Andy, thank you very much. Mr. Prime Minister, Madam Prosecutor, Mr. Governor, Lena, members of AmCham. This evening, we're so grateful to be together with you. I think it's an excellent example of the strong cooperation between the Ukrainian government, the US government, and your companies. Our Chargé d'Affaires, Christina Queen, unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, but she sent a message that I think we will play now, and we look forward to continue working together in our strong partnership to support Ukraine economically. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm pleased to join this evening's annual Members' Appreciation Reception. The American Chamber of Commerce in Ukraine is a strong partner of the U.S. Embassy. We're looking forward to celebrating AmCham Ukraine's 30th anniversary together later this year. It's a special pleasure to share the stage this evening with Prime Minister Shmyhal, Prosecutor General Venediktova, Chairman Shevchenko, AmCham President Andy Hunter, and a distinguished group of those supporting Ukraine in this uncertain time. I know they share my gratitude to you, AmCham's members, for the business community's unwavering support for Ukraine. Let me start by addressing the current situation regarding Russia's unprovoked buildup of forces on Ukraine's border. Over the past several days, you've seen the United States, Ukraine, our allies and partners make genuine and sincere efforts to advance diplomacy and encourage Russia to de-escalate the situation, a path we vastly prefer over the alternative, escalation and the massive consequences and international isolation of Russia that would follow. The United States returned a written proposal to Russia, and Secretary Blinken expects to speak with his Russian counterpart as soon as Russian officials are ready to discuss next steps. Our response outlines a way forward that provides the only durable solution to the security concerns of the United States, Ukraine, our other allies and partners, and Russia itself. As we have stressed, we will continue our close coordination with Ukraine, as well as our European allies and partners, in our relentless efforts to bring peaceful resolution to a conflict Russia has caused. In all of this, the United States is proceeding on the principle that our engagement will be closely coordinated with Ukraine and our European allies and partners, and that is one reason we have seen so many calls, visits, and meetings between US, Ukrainian, and European leaders in recent weeks. That said, I want to emphasize that the choice regarding the way forward is Russia's. It can choose the path of diplomacy that will lead to peace and security, or the path that will lead only to conflict, severe consequences, and international condemnation. As we pursue diplomatic efforts, let me underscore that the U.S.-Ukraine partnership remains stronger than ever. The United States will continue to provide assistance to help Ukraine deter Russian aggression and resist efforts to destabilize Ukraine, including its economy. The United States has, in fact, delivered more security assistance to Ukraine in the last year than at any point in history, including $650 million in the past year and $2.7 billion since 2014. Several shipments from a new allotment of $200 million in security assistance arrived just last week, including a fourth one on Friday, and more are on the way. Let me also touch on U.S. Embassy operations. We've taken prudent precautions in asking U.S. citizens to depart Ukraine, ordering the departure of family members of U.S. government personnel, and giving U.S. mission staff the option of departing. Even so, we remain absolutely committed to standing by Ukraine. Let me make clear, the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv remains open, and we are fully operational. Our commercial services continue, our economic engagement continues, our assistance continues, and we continue to provide consular services for U.S. citizens and others. This is, of course, a challenging time. As President Zelensky has made clear, and as we have all stated as well, the economic impacts of Russia's efforts are concerning. Secretary Blinken underscored when he was here in Kyiv recently that we're determined to work with and to support Ukraine to deal with the economic challenges posed by Russia. President Biden and President Zelensky discussed the possibility of additional macroeconomic support to help Ukraine's economy amidst pressure from this buildup. Beyond the current situation, we have been making tremendous strides to strengthen our relationship even further. For years, we've invested in Ukraine's economic growth, energy security, infrastructure, civil society, defense, and rule of law. We're continuing to provide that support. Even amid the current crisis, we remain deeply committed to supporting Ukraine's continued progress on internal reforms at the same time that we work together to protect its sovereignty and territorial integrity. Our view is that at this crucial time, while united in the face of external threats, Ukraine must also continue to do its part to uphold its democratic commitments, strengthen the rule of law, and advance anti-corruption reforms. These reforms are essential for Ukraine to realize its full potential and make the country resilient in the future to both internal and external threats. As we've seen in Ukraine, developing strong institutions that can resist corrupt influence advances the broader goals of creating economic opportunity and resisting Russian aggression. There is still much to be done, but Ukrainians can be proud of the progress that they've made towards our European and Euro-Atlantic future in the 30 years since independence. Ukraine's innovative private sector and dynamic economy, its vibrant press and civil society, its respect for human rights, its thriving democratic debate, these are all achievements that all Ukrainians are justifiably proud of and that demonstrate Ukraine's Western orientation. They're an important reason why the United States stands as a steadfast partner with Ukraine on its journey and will look forward to continued progress and the strengthening of our relationship. I wish you peace and success in this coming year. Thank you and enjoy your evening.
Thank you, Megan, and thank you, Christina, and thank you to everyone at the US Embassy for all the support that you've been providing, and especially some of the wonderful services that we can use, the express business visa for members, not only for you, for the members, but also for spouses and for children. And I think this relationship we have with the US Embassy is truly solid, and we're very, very grateful. And that's the appreciation today to you and to everyone there. Thank you. Пані і панове, для мене надзвичайно...
Ladies and gentlemen, I am very pleased to pass the floor to the person with whom our team is working ever more actively, and the main thing is that we see the results. And I think that what's been done over the last year by AmCham and the Office of the Procurator General, there's a lot to say about this. So Irina Venediktova, Prosecutor General. Thank you, Andrew. Friends, I congratulate and greet Andrew and Elena and the AmCham as the organization and every company on the 30th anniversary. I think that every anniversary of creating business in any state, including ours, or even more so in our country, is courage or bravery. This is a conscientious bravery, courage with a certain aim, and it is systematically repeated. I think that every one of you has a very different experience. This is the experience of victories and defeats, and the communication between B to G. And G cannot always be very pleasant, because we understand very well what is wide business in a state with transitionary economy and the challenges that we all see It pleases me very much that today, as Prosecutor General, I can congratulate you on the 30th anniversary in such a company, because, as I understand, even when I entered the office 2 years ago, I understood that this office engaged in very strange things sometimes. I thank Olena for her positive support, because I can even say that at the moment there was a loud scandal with the Mykolaiv plant, and I entered my office with the understanding that the new prosecutor's office is going to be reformed, and we will be supporting investors and create new jobs and support only those things that will provide opportunity for business growth. And then we started to create the departments to protect business, because I knew people personally who worked at that plant, and they told me, Irina, the things that are taking place there are entirely different from what you are thinking about. Yes, I have this experience, but we are already past it. We have 70 successful cases now. Even in January, a big investor who was very much in the limelight of the mass media, I won't name the names because we understand very well what consequences this may cause. But on the one hand, the prosecutor's office goes along with the socially right effect, where we have to take care of the law and lawful demands from the state, but on the other hand, we have to be a lawyer for business, for the law enforcement system, and also from some non-understandable, not fathomable actions of the executive power. And those 2 years, they were very complicated. Once when we met the AmCham some 2 years ago, there were a lot of constructive claims made against that. But now I am very pleased to say that we can really do our common things, and we also can cooperate in some criminal proceedings as well. This is very sensitive, but of course business without state and state without business cannot live very well. Maybe this is too highfalutin, but such things are in place during the 30th anniversary. If we do not take care every day, and I do this every day, if there's more interested stakeholders, both domestic and foreign, to expand, to build, to develop, this is very good for the future of Ukraine. We have a very good case now when the investor comes and creates 10,000 jobs. If we apply the dollar equivalent to every job created, then we have something to be proud of. And this is our common cause. We cannot do it on our own. Maybe not everyone knows that we have departments to protect investments in the Office of Prosecutor General. We have a director for this department with a specific name. He's Plenuk Alexander, and we try to do all this on the basis of the Prosecutor General's office, not on the level of regions, although we do invite leaders of regions when there are cases. We do not allow to embezzle things and to mistreat things in situ. We invite you, come and check us. Of course, I can talk for a long time here, but it's better to find concrete, specific cooperation, and I'm sure that this will provide for concrete results. I saw some representatives from the Council Ombudsman. We understand still that there will be other challenges. I am not such an optimist, maybe, because my job is like this, but we are prepared to meet and overcome these challenges. So, friends, I wish you a very good event. I'm expecting new ideas, new inspirations, courage for our upcoming anniversaries, and I thank the team of the ACC for systemic and powerful work 24/7. I met you in 2019 at night, and I know for sure that you work 24/7.
Thank you very much, Irina, for your presentation. We'd like to thank the Department of Alexei Petrovich Stepanuk for indeed for his real work, and we are going to continue. Please continue good work. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I believe that everybody is interested what we are going to have, what kind of picture we're going to have with finances, with the banking system, the Ukrainian national hryvnia, Ukrainian national currency, but who knows better than the chairman of the National Bank of Ukraine, Kirill Shevchenko. You have the floor, sir. Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be with you today. I would like to say that such annual meetings, especially kind of festive meetings, this is a very wonderful opportunity for me personally, and on behalf of our team in the National Bank of Ukraine, I would like to express our gratitude to the AmCham, to the ACC, and to many years head of this organization, Mr. Andrew Gunder. I would like to say that this kind of recognition and respect regarding the ACC is a kind of very bright confirmation of the progress we actually achieved together. And I know personally knows the many people who can actually support me in that the work of the ACC in Ukraine started with a one room located in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and we can compare it to the beginning of the road and what we have today. So once again, I would like to thank all of you for your efforts, for your contribution into into Ukraine, in development of Ukraine. And taking this opportunity, I would like to share with you the achievements and the let's say the challenges which we face today in the financial system. One of the key problems, if you're talking about macroeconomy, what we have, the problem which is in the focus of attention of almost all the world, the record-breaking increase of inflation, because the inflation in the United States in December last year was the highest over the last 4 years after the introduction of the currency. And actually, the global inflation was associated with the restriction of the quarantine efforts, stimulation of the leading economies, and number two, the break of the chains of production in supply in the world. Speaking about inflation in Ukraine, a major part of that is a reflection of the general global processes, but there were also the domestic reasons. Let's say the fast renovation of the demand, let's say in the increase of the workforce and the raw material demand. So last year we also had such a factor, the deterioration of information environment against the background of the geopolitical events. But the complexity of this information process, this is another challenge for the National Bank of Ukraine, but not the reason for doing nothing about that, So last year we didn't have any illusion that inflation will disappear just like vanish in thin air. The National Bank of Ukraine, one of the first central banks in the world, started to correct its policy, sticking to the major key priorities: the consistency, let's say transparency, and let's say the possibility to envisage. And this we understand what's important for this sector of the economy. We started to increase the interest rate last year, and over the last year we increased that by 3% points, up to 9 annual points. Taking into consideration the banking system actually went through the market of turbulence associated with the COVID-19. We were actively increasing our portfolio. We had the need to say goodbye to some of the non-traditional, let's say, supporting instruments. We didn't have that kind of support any longer, and in order to avoid anyway some kind of the turbulence and the turmoil in the financial market, we made this curtailment gradual and understandable for the players in the market. And National Bank of Ukraine has always been adhering to the floating rate course. Like before last year, our bank actually started to smooth out the fluctuations in the currency market. We provided special cushion, like accumulation of different reserves of currency. And generally speaking, last year we ended with a positive balance of the currency interventions up to the 2.4 billion US dollars, which allowed us to increase our reserves up to 31 billion US dollars, which is a record-breaking figure, even if we compare with the level of the year before the 2014. And actually, we are talking about the hryvnia rate. We followed that over the last year. We created the necessary conditions for a positive tendency, which in Ukraine, like in many countries, actually happened last year already. We believe that we already passed the peak of inflation, which fell on the March last year when we had inflation 19%, and now it gradually decreases. We actually avoided the let's say the unwinding of the let's say inflation spiral. Otherwise, we would have a much more worse situation. The National Bank of Ukraine managed to preserve the control over the investment expectations. And though we increased this kind of the indicator, but still it's controlled, We cannot but actually mention that this policy of the National Bank over the last year helped us to preserve the confidence in hryvnia. Unfortunately, this year, 2022, started with the new challenges for the financial market of Ukraine. The special tension, a big tension on the borders of Ukraine actually affected negatively the course of hryvnia and the status of hryvnia. But I would like to assure you, though we had a very difficult situation, but it was not absolute, it was not a critical one. Because of the reserve of the, let's say, strengths which we already insured and accumulated. First of all, I mentioned already the accumulated reserves, which will allow us to smooth out the fluctuations owing to the currency reserves. The NBU of Ukraine started with this beginning of this year. We sold 1,200 plus million, plus million dollars, and we have quite sufficient reserves in order to continue this strategy. I would like to emphasize that our National Bank is not going to repeat the mistakes we committed last year. We are not going to start to keep this currency rate at the achieved level. We are sure that the market is going to balance off. The trend has been already unwound, and we also witness now the stabilization of the situation, and let's say the sales exceed the buying. and we bought out more than $200 million reserves from the external market. So we're going to continue our strategy in our monetary policy, increasing the interest rate in January by 1 point already. Immediately, and actually it confirmed our preparedness to continue our actions and to preserve and use all necessary financial instruments to ensure the stability of the financial market. If you're talking about market instruments, it doesn't cover to the administrative restrictions in the currency market, which in our opinion are very detrimental to our activity. We do not make provision for any kind of restrictions of movement of the capital or any other restrictions which took place in 2008 or 2014-15. As I mentioned before, the accumulated experience in the, let's say, the established confidence in our monetary policy and the gold and currency reserves allow us to feel rather confident under even such difficult situation or uneasy situation. As a result, we are talking about the under conditions of the acute deterioration of the political situation, but this effect is much weaker than we had before. The banking system is in very good shape and preserves quite sufficient reserves of capital. Last year, testing of banking system demonstrated that the bank, generally speaking, are prepared for the hypothetical crisis, and the risk of the banks actually diminished over the last year. We have very good indicators of liquidity, which is sufficient to cover any kind of outflow of the money or the capital. Also, I would like to say that this good situation with the banking system determines that we do not witness any kind of outflow of deposits from the banking system. Last year, the banking system obtained the record-breaking profit, 77.5 hryvnia, and this is the record-breaking figure of the last few years, and those reserves will become the source to increase capital and increase the crediting opportunities in Ukraine. In conclusion, I would like to say that the National Bank of Ukraine will continue to pursue our policy based on the consistency, transparency, and invisibility, and such an approach, despite the different challenges, will ensure the financial and price stability, which would be the major contribution of the National Bank into the sustainable development of this country. Once again, I would like to thank everyone here. Especially, I would like to thank you for your optimism, for your belief and confidence in Ukraine and trust in Ukraine. I would like to tell you that the task of the National Bank of Ukraine is the price and financial stability for the investors in our country to feel themselves comfortable. And so please expand your presence here. This is really the support which we badly need here in this country by all the Ukrainians. Thank you for your attention. Glory to Ukraine.
Thank you, Kirilla. Thank you for your leadership and your conviction and optimism. And I think that your words are really very important about the financial system and the banking system and about hryvnia. And we will continue to work, and we believe in hryvnia. And who's the best example of this trust? Who proves this with both words and deeds, who demonstrates it to Ukraine, and who's been investing to Ukraine for over a quarter of a century. This is the head of the board of the American Chamber of Commerce, Ms. Lena Kosharny. Thank you very much.
In English, I understand I'm in the precarious position of being the last speaker before everybody gets to socialize after having all these online meetings and desperately wanting to be together in one room. And we have that ability to do that tonight. So please do stay after, socialize, talk amongst yourselves, because community is what this is all about. First, I want to say thank you so much. It's incredible to be on the stage tonight. It's incredible to be here with the Prime Minister, Denis Shmyhal, with a partner of AmCham, Prosecutor General of Ukraine, Irina Venediktova, with the Governor of the National Bank of Ukraine, who just assured us of such the strength of the banking sector, Kirill Shevchenko, of Megan Bolden, who represents the U.S. Embassy, and Christina Kveen, those optimistic words that are a true testament to partnership with the United States, and of course, Andy Hunder, our president, and everyone from AmCham, the board of directors, the whole amazing AmCham team who is here for you and who we also appreciate very much. So first of all, I just want to say, let's give a round of applause to Andy, to Tanya Prokopchuk, Vice President, to Ksenia Velichka, to all of the people of AmCham. You know, things are easier for me because our head office is in Ukraine. And we can set the tone for ourselves, for how we see the situation. Everyone who knows me knows that one of my mottos is, worry is a waste of emotional reserve. Everybody who knows me also knows that, you know, when I think of folks that are worrying, it is something in your mind that, you know, your mind creating a future you don't want to exist. So I think that very much embodies the spirit of the CEOs of AmCham, over 600 of them, who are here on the ground, who are operating business as usual, who've taken care of their fiduciary responsibility, taken care of business continuity plans, taking care of their people, but also focusing on moving forward. I'm very proud of the membership base and everything that you do every single day to keep things moving here, and I think that's very important right now. So my next round of applause is for all of our members and the top leaders who are truly ensuring that business continues on the ground in Ukraine. And from my perspective, we continue to invest. We have over $1.1 billion under management. We've invested in 150 companies in the region, employing 70,000 people. This is an important region for us, and we will continue to be here and capitalizing on opportunities that present themselves. And for me, I think what's really important listening to Prime Minister Shmyhal, listening to Governor Shevchenko, and also to Prosecutor General Irina Venediktova, for me, I remember my first year as a board member, and I remember the words of Leszek Balcerowicz when he came to us, and he said, your strength is in unity, your strength is in solidarity, your strength is in dialogue. And I think over these last years, that is truly what AmCham is best at. It doesn't mean that we don't have disagreements. It doesn't mean we don't have hot discussions, but we try to come together and move things forward. And I think that that is a hallmark of the cooperation, and the fact that we have such incredible people on the stage with us today is a testament to that. So thank you also for all of you for being with us tonight. Now, before I finish my few words, I want to let you in on why I am as calm as I am about the current situation. You know, investing is an art and a science. And the science part is facts and figures. And I've been here 28 years. I've been through all of the revolutions. I've been through Maidan. I've been through the annexation, everything that happened. For those who know me, they know the extent to which I was involved in terms of doing everything I could at that moment. But looking back, this isn't 2014-15. This is not 2014-15. Looking back at 2015, and a number I always watch, the nominal GDP in US dollars dropped to 91 billion, okay? This year, it's about 195, the highest since 2013. That's extremely important. The reserves that Governor Shevchenko talked about, I mean, we were at 1 month import cover, 1 month. I mean, the lowest in a decade reserves. We have the highest reserves that Ukraine has ever had. You know, that's important. We remember those days, all of us who were here in 2014-15, when we were watching Ukraine's reserves deplete, 12 billion gone because of a fixed foreign currency exchange policy and no inflation targeting. That's not the case today. We have inflation targeting, we have a floating policy, and we have 24 billion added to reserves over these years, despite the fact that Ukraine continues to fight for its sovereignty over the last 8 years. I mean, it's night and day. Back then, we had 30% of our trade with Russia. It's less than 5. We have a complete pivot to trade with the EU. We have free trade agreements. We have trade with EU, Middle East, Asia, all over the globe. And all of that's thanks to all the efforts of the government, the reforms, the folks on the ground, the CEOs have moved that forward. I mean, one thing that I'm super excited about, of course, is the IT sector, which has become the calling card, the absolute calling card of Ukraine. And I look at it not as like the third largest export sector, et cetera. The face of the new generation is one of the reasons why the world cares so much about Ukraine. And when they see folks in the IT sector, the tech sector, you know, combating cybersecurity or creating unicorns or moving things forward, and they see that kind of partnership that exists with the government, it's very important. It's important to see that that is a new face of Ukraine. And it motivates people also to help Ukraine. So I'm delighted with the partnership we have. You know, it's been 2 years, right, Andy? Working with, I see Vitaly Sedler, IT Ukraine here, with IT Ukraine, with EBA, with AmCham, with SOUP, to create City. Sorry? Hennady, the business ombudsman. I mean, all is like work that we've done. And next week we'll have an event with the president about City, and it's so exciting because it brings so much to the country. $6 billion in IT sector. It was 110 million industry in 2003. It's extremely important, and it's extremely important as a driver and for the perception of the country. So one last thing that I did want to say, you know, we talk a lot about governance. We talk a lot about reforms. And truly, it's very important that we continue. It's very important, Prime Minister, what you said, that the reforms are continuing. It's very important to our general prosecutor, who we spoke openly about next week, because the one issue that I know everybody's worried about is the BEB issue, the Bureau Ekonomicznej Bezpieki. And everybody's watching that. We don't want to see, after flourishing during the pandemic, after business having this on our shoulders, after doing everything possible to get through this, and also now dealing with, you know, not a great optics at the beginning of the year, but we definitely do not want to see any kind of return of a super agency that would harass business or erase some of the great work that's been done by the Office for Protection of Investor Rights and others. So we're watching. We're hoping that in this environment, everybody understands that we need to make sure there's transparency, openness, and a correct foundation for that agency. That's very important. The other last point I want to make is about corporate governance. And we all talk about this. But I want to say a highlight for me, and I have the pleasure of being a member of the board of the Ukrainian Startup Fund, going back to tech. And I just want to say that we're open to be a case model, a case of amazing corporate governance. I mean, if I look at the Ukrainian Corporate Governance Academy, their work, but if I also look at the Ukrainian Startup Fund, it's 7 board members, volunteers, $15 million that has been, today, a large chunk of that has been dispersed to 230 startups. You know, $25,000 pre-seed grants, $50,000 seed grants. That's extremely important, and this is a combination of 7 board members, Alexander Burnyakov from Min Digital, Alexander Kava, Dima Shimki, Victoria Tehipko, myself, Chuck Whitehead. We've passed every single audit. You know, the MinFin audits, the international audits, the state tax inspection audits, all volunteer. And I think we're happy to share the experience of that during this whole discussion on how to improve corporate governance in Ukraine. So with that note, I want to say to everyone, I appreciate all that you do in Ukraine. I appreciate that you're steadfast in your resolve to ensure the safety of your people, to ensure that your business continues to grow, to ensure that you continue to invest. I appreciate this country. I appreciate the unity we have. And I wish for all of you this year for us to take any kind of breakdown and create a breakthrough from it. So with that, have a wonderful evening and enjoy yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Lena. And I think on that note, I mean, there are so many faces I see in this room, really, you know, who we want to say a massive appreciation to. I mean, I see some great leaders, CEOs of big banks and corporations and companies here. So thank you. And I think we'll get an opportunity to say a personal thank you outside, because I know the people that are watching us online or people already watching us outside. But again, to all the people in government, Olha Pishainska from the anti-monopoly, Katya, I see the MPs, Mikhail Radutsky, Alexei Honcharenko, everyone who is here. Neville, there you are, because I was looking for you earlier. I think this is an opportunity again to really tell the story. The whole world today is looking at Ukraine. I think that 2022 is something we will remember for the rest of our lives. This moment in history, and I think it is something children, grandchildren will one day be learning, be studying. But I think our message is that we are here, we continue, we believe in Ukraine, and we are united. So, Mr. Prime Minister, on behalf of the American Chamber of Commerce, Pani Irina, Pani Kirillo, to the US Embassy, we appreciate and we say a massive thank you to you. We appreciate our members, a massive thank you to you, the government officials, the members of parliament, everyone working to make Ukraine a better place to live, a better place to do business. Thank you. Please enjoy the evening. God bless Ukraine. І слава Україні.